It is January 30th, 2024. What you need to know about men today from a non-man hating perspective, a spiritual perspective that is outside of the norm. Okay, so I'm a man and I believe in being conscious against racism, against hatred of any group whatsoever. I believe in defending both men and women from evil, not only on a physical level, but on a spiritual level. That means in the nature of a minister or a pastor or a man of God, or one that aspires to be a messenger of God, which I do. I talk about the true spiritual attack on today's man and woman. Okay, and so we need to talk in a general sense about the overall attack on humanity, that is all humans, regardless of their ethnicity, their language, so on and so forth, right? Stay with me here. But then we also need to look at the specific ways in which women are suppressed and attacked and manipulated by either the physical system or matrix, or the demiurge, shaitan, Satan, unseen realms, archon, jinn, demonic influence behind the New World Order, behind the decision making, behind the algorithm, behind AI. Okay, so we need to understand this. There's specific programs that they want the men of today's day and age to follow, and the women of today's day and age to follow. And there are different programs in different countries. And then in some circumstances, you basically essentially have the same program. For example, the increased abuse of women is actually global. It's not just happening in Afghanistan. Okay, it's global. However, good men that would stand up for women are not exactly leaders in this world. The evil in this world, unfortunately, suppresses people that would make a difference. So there's many good men and women that have been killed all throughout human history that would have tried to create some positive change if they were able to make some change, but the zombie-like men and women of their day and age wouldn't allow them to do jack shit. So we have like a long history of good people throughout society and history being assassinated. Some stories have been told, many stories have not been told, right? So the truth is, a lot of people that are successful in today's day and age, even some that are leaders of certain religions, they're going along to get along, right? They're engaged in having the prototype personality. They're not naturally, because they're human, more spiritual or closer to God, even if they claim to have a deep understanding of either the Quran, the Torah, or the Bible, or other New Age texts, or New Age deceivers, James Gillen, David Wilcock, Corey Wood, on and on and on, right? So we need to do a deeper, truthful analysis of where humanity is and today's man and woman, not to hate or engage in misogyny or the equal equivalent of it to men, but to point out as teachers, for those of us that are a little bit more evolved than the demon souls that incarnated with us, I speculate. So we need to highlight the shortcomings of society because we care, like a personal trainer, not necessarily trying to be mean by saying you're neglecting your biceps. You need to do this exercise to work on this part of your back. You've developed this part, but you also need to develop that part. The reason people hire professional trainers and life coaches is because they want to improve. This channel really is for serious people interested in deprogramming from the New World Order. And there are other people that are possessed, that are evil in their hearts, that will never stop having evil in their hearts and racism, that are only going to get worse even as time goes on, even if they're in nature and away from the grid. Evil continues to fester and become more evil and more dangerous, these individuals, until, of course, they have a genuine spiritual experience. And so I'm here to tell you that I believe, I'm giving you my perspective, that the vast majority of the human species is in line with this Antichrist consciousness frequency. It's not a matter in this conversation of a person, although it could be one coming later, but a frequency that a lot of humans are tapped into. And so we have the prototype personality of the average man and woman, and it needs to be discussed individually. Let's discuss, now that I've discussed women for years and years and years, being a heterosexual, right, that has only had sexual experiences, that has only desired the feminine, That's why it's relevant. But I also talk about the male zombies. Being a guy that wants to hang out with guys, shoot pool, do some boxing training, go on some hiking trips, do some alternative media, have some guys on my show, go on their show. But there's a reason why I don't hang out with a lot of men in today's day and age. And so we could talk about the normie man for a little bit. Then we could talk about the mainstream male in conspiracy theory content creation, also consumption. The male conspiracy consumer and the male conspiracy content creator. And then, of course, we'll talk in general about the different types of mainstream men in the society that are anything but spiritual, that are different variants and flavors of the prototype personality. What I'm about to describe to you, right, relates to all the races. It's not just a discussion about white professional men. It also includes black men and men that have immigrated from other countries into the United States, right? You're still with me? So there's a number of different ways I could title this video, but what you need to know about, zombie men today, and then, we could talk a little bit about women briefly, but really elaborate more on that in a future video, okay? So there's mainstream regular men, and then there are like the conspiracy genre, okay? So as far as normies, you have a lot of men in this society that have made money their god, because you need money to have a certain amount of, to be able to pay their rent. And a lot of women want a guy who has a home. It's natural. They want a nest. So there's nature involved in that, instinct. Unfortunately, when you have a corrupt employment system in a corrupt system, the more corrupt men make the most money, or corruption is needed in order to make a certain amount of money. And because a lot of men, they naturally, they have those juices flowing through their balls, basically, that in many times for a man, it can be difficult to shut that shit off. So there is this hard wiring to make that baby, to do whatever is necessary to get that woman in bed, to have one's way with her, because that is in the wiring. So there is the continuation of the human species. If that wiring was not there, i.e. what we would call lust, for better or for worse, there would not be what we would call a human population, right? Are you still with me? I'm actually multitasking here. I'm making quinoa, preparing some spinach, and I'm having some salmon because it was for sale at Kroger. So I'm having, I'm going to get my omega-3s. Because of that wiring within, a lot of men will do whatever's necessary in order to get that you-know-what. Although I'm not a big fan of widespread pornography addiction in this culture, I understand why there is an addiction to it. Because there's such a imbalance between the men and women. There's so much competition and conflict that there isn't a romantic vibe right now in our society. Anyway, a lot of men that aren't spiritual, like I said, most humans aren't. Most humans are just going to be, 99%. They're going to be in allegiance to evil, even if they don't have an altar to Satan physically in their living room with candles and the pentagram inverted, through their immorality, through their deception, through their... for a lot of people, even if they think they're Christians, the way that they're okay with other people being slaughtered overseas and demonized, to me, that's all satanic. They don't see it that way. They think Jesus has absolved them of their sins and of their hate and of their white supremacy that they won't admit to, while they attack others awake to the fact that white supremacy exists and has affected some of our lives more than some of your lives. Don't hate a human being for having feelings and emotions and going through hell on earth and walking literally through the coals or the fire. So basically, a lot of men in this society, as far as I'm concerned, are fucking weak as fuck. And will do anything for a fuck. And will do anything for the money. Most men and women are fucking zombies and will do anything for fucking money. Like that scene from They Live, This Is Your God. Look at how many people are fans of They Live, but yet are the same zombies featured in They Live. I've got one that can see. Look at how many people act like that fucking zombie robot in They Live. To me, I've got one that can see fucking with me when there's nothing that I'm doing to do shit to end up in their email inbox. Commenting fucking ever on their YouTube channel, ever going into their space, unless of course they're subscribed to my content and they're getting updates or they got the bell notifications. That's on them, or that's on you. If you want to subscribe to my channel, you hit the notifications. You chose to listen to me. So don't act like a fucking victim when I try to illuminate your reality into the fallen state of affairs. Don't act like this is paradise. Many of the world's religions warn you of this. Warn thee of this. This is not paradise. This is a form of hell. That's why there's so much bloodshed. That's why there's so many beings amongst us that hate the light, that hate the truth, that hate the real knowledge as to how also we're affected by the sun, the moon, and other celestial influences. So a lot of men on this planet go along to get along because they're naive to certain spiritual truths. Some of them might think that their shit doesn't stink, whether they're a gangster, a manager, or whatnot, because for a number of years, through their greed, they could be tools of the system. Maybe the way they treat people as a manager. Don't ask me why I know of certain things, right? Maybe I feel a little sad in my life that a certain person that I looked up to in my life didn't do shit to help me when I needed it. And he made money his God, who never, to me, talked about God, but him in his last days on earth, as are my last days, my father's last days on earth, as well as my mother's, as well as some of yours. We will all be gone at some point. I am talking to you all about the true need for us to make right with God, because a lot of people have not. And because of the manipulations of a lot of religions, a lot of women have ended up in the New Age, and a lot of men have ended up saying, fuck religion, fuck the control. I'm not about control. I want to be free and happy. So they may end up trying to be happy, but really because they're living unspiritual lives, they fall into Shaitan's web. Because their mind isn't protected, because they're not engaged in active spirituality and prayer and reverence for spirit and the great creator, they fall prey to influence from the dark side that just loves, I repeat, that just loves to destroy the lives of some successful men and women. The evil spirits of this world watches humanity rise and likes to take them down, right? Even in the world of TIs and gang stalking and people that talk about psychic attack and their perspective as to what's going on, there's a number of them that have lived lives as professionals. So as far as spiritual warfare is concerned, which is what I believe is going on, people are often attacked for their gifts and talents here on earth by these jealous spirits that see us in the flesh and they hate us for our light. And a lot of these attitudes and intelligences are actually channeling through and streaming through the attitudes of some of the people that we meet. And for those of us that create content, some of the people that watch our videos and dislike our videos and do other things to us to cause pain and misery in our personal lives. Now, this actually could be an ongoing series. I'm not using a script, so I'm just saying immediately what comes to mind. Mostly focusing on the mainstream normie male and then getting into mainstream conspiracy male consumer, conspiracy content creator. Both of which I don't really have much to do with, even though I'm also somewhat of a conspiracy and spiritualist consumer of content as well as creator. Okay, so a lot of men have that natural, through the history of warfare, natural inclination to go to war, but because they're not spiritually developed, a lot of them, and they're not taught about the natural nature of evil in this world, and they're not taught by their dad properly how to box, a lot of people end up learning how to fight through MMA schools that have no spirituality, because they didn't learn from their dad. My dad hated the martial arts, and then my friend, who didn't really spend much time with me, but acted like he was my dad and led me on for a number of years, and still to this day, really, to be honest with you, hasn't really come to terms with the fact that he let me down. And that hurts. And I told him that's how I feel. Because that is the truth. Okay? And if you are playing a mentor to someone or you're someone's dad, you should really teach them how to defend themselves. And it's more than the techniques. It's about becoming intelligent and avoiding pitfalls in life that can get your ass in trouble. And that includes legal trouble, okay? Just because some people haven't had certain problems doesn't mean that other people are going to get away so easily, right? In the post 9/11 world, I've dealt with certain levels of judgment and prejudice and assumptions just simply because of my flesh and my name, right? And in this day and age, there are certain things that we could do nothing about. We can't do anything about certain things that we can't change, and that includes people's hate. So I've had to come to terms with the fact that, although I fought it for years, I cannot do anything to stop the people that have hated me for years from hating me. They will not get better, they only get worse, until one of them shows me that they're getting better. Okay, people have only contacted me to tell me that they like my conspiracies or my travels, or I provide them a sense of entertainment. It's never ever been about rising above hatred. Of all the years that I've been creating content, no man has ever said that. So the men that have incarnated into the time frame that we have lived in, of those that were racist when they found my content, none of them have said to me in a message that my content helped pop them out of that psychosis. With the female population, They refuse to acknowledge my years of warning about human trafficking. Very, very rarely does it ever happen. And when it does happen, it almost seems like they're doing that just to say, well, I'm here, but they're very rarely there to be seen, really, ever. Unless, of course, it's directly called out. So women do not support my content, have not traditionally supported my content, but there are good women in this world that have helped me behind the scenes traditionally. Not so much right now, but in my past. Not to mention the fact that a woman brought me into this world. So remember, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for women. So just because there's some nasty women alive today, understand that's the programming. Just because there are some Nazis today, understand that's the programming that the evil is bringing to the white race to enslave their souls and that of their children. I do believe that the sins of the father pass on to the children. So those that are neo-Nazis that have had children, their sins and the evil that they have done is going to pass on to their children, unless, of course, their children engage in a spiritual practice, okay? Because of my father's sins, in my opinion, for reasons you don't know, and his occupation overseas as a translator, I believe that there is evil associated with that. And so I have to be ultra, uber spiritual in a way that you don't understand or even believe in some cases, because I don't want that shit coming after me. I do believe that there is such a thing as generational curses, okay? Just to make sure that we're all on the same side of the fence. So on my white side, my mother's side, there are some Freemasons there, Order of the Eastern Star, there is KKK there, and then there's whatever the deeper history is into the Welsh bloodline and old Europe, a history that has been kept hidden from me. Is it an accident or just this Archon mind hijack that happens within families in which the abuse and the ignorance continues and continues? But the family members themselves are in a trance. So we've covered the fact that many men are hypersexual and will do anything to get laid instead of trying to bring in a good woman. And to them, a lot of men that have that compulsion to get laid, they may be hypnotized by their own, perceived, penis power. That a woman, who, has sex on the first week or date is a higher value woman. Woman who's quicker to spread her legs and fuck you real quick is going to be also quick to fuck another dude and frankly hop from cock to cock to cock, like it's some sort of circus. So a lot of this continuation of the human species is not necessarily based in love, it's based in lust. And so we have a higher population now, and as we live alongside porno, which shows us different types of sexual positions, that gets children thinking about sex at a younger age, or maybe they find the porn laying around. Maybe, I remember my father left his nasty porn laying around, as well as good old Uncle Bruce, from the supposed superior side of the family, from the popular perspective here in the ongoing Americult, in the perception of races, in this social egg hierarchy. You ever heard about the social egg hierarchy, right? Being controlled on high from technology, from the archonic realms? It's all a fucking lie. Everybody that believes in fucking hate and superiority, while also all these people in our society acting like they're fucking victims, while they make bank, while they live in nice neighborhoods, right? They want to complain about suppression. Oh, they're so suppressed by the fucking Muslims. There ain't no fucking Muslims running their websites, right? If anything, there's an East Indian guy, right? But people are so dumb, they'll lump in the Muslims when the East Indians. Have some compassion. Look at those East Indians lighting that Muslim guy's balls on fire. That doesn't mean I'm attacking all East Indians. I love aspects of East Indian culture and food. But I find the energy of a lot of East Indian immigrants to be pretty dark in my experience. So when I talk about the average man, right, people want to get to, there goes Alex talking about our society again. I'm talking about people in my father's family, Sherlock. I'm talking about people in foreign fucking countries. I'm talking about those psychotic East Indians lighting that dude's nuts on fire. Or those crazy fuckers in Africa, or those crazy fuckers in the Middle East, grabbing at some person and beating them to death. Or some mob in Portland, fucking Oregon, with this family feud of hillbillies that all look the same, not so diverse, not so multicultural, actually looking pretty fucking inbred, if you want my opinion. Looking at these battles between the left and right. Oh, call that person a Nazi. Oh, call that person a soy boy. Ain't neither of you give a fucking shit about the millions of people you massacred overseas. So don't either one of you, nor your political messiahs, act like you're fucking superior, progressive, patriots or lovers of freedom, because I see right through your shit. It's amazing. The people that want to contact me and comment to me and talk to me like I'm some dumb fuck, like I don't know what the truth is, because I won't get down and suck Trump's cock. I ain't no fucking faggot. No offense to those that are, but a man needs to be a fucking man, and most of you out there that got cock and balls aren't real men. You're not leaders, you're not content creators, you're not documentary filmmakers, you're fucking followers, and you take the easy way out. Whether it be the military, whether it be the police, whether it be security, whether it be the hospital, whether it be security or some other official or the stock market or fucking riding the Bitcoin train. So many of this society haven't done fucking shit to stand, metaphorically speaking, in front of the tank that is upon us. And yet so many people want to bully the human being that is willing to. That is not of Jesus. That is not of God. That is of the fucking devil. So, again, back to center. The vast majority of the human species is possessed, and we can articulate it in so many ways. Trying to help people and shine the light on their blind spots is not being anti-black, anti-Afghan, anti-Islamic, or anti-white. Shining the light on the hatred, the Nazism, and everything else is not being anti-you, it's being anti-Satan. And only a human possessed by Satan would think that criticizing evil is the same thing as criticizing a group. So be aware. Pay attention to the comments that come if you're a content creator. Many of the people that are possessed in our world have made themselves known. And this is going to increase by 2025. Alice Bailey predicted this many years ago, that we would see the externalization of the hierarchy by 2025. Make of it what you will. Let's keep going, because I'm not done yet. A lot of men get sucked into inferior forms of martial arts. That would be jiu-jitsu, MMA, hard styles, with a lack of appreciation for thousands of years of training that men in Asia and India have done before, of course, the octagon. So there is a lack of appreciation for thousands of years of culture, just in general, in this Antichrist destroyer society. That co-ops, like a lot of women that want to act spiritual when they're not, will co-opt the Native American dress, will co-opt the turquoise, will co-opt the yoga, and act like they themselves are spiritual. The man in this society, the controlled super soldier of the New World Order, even if he's not an actual soldier, he could be a propaganda soldier on the internet listening to fake news, hating innocent people, that his culture is bombing back to the Stone Age while acting like he's losing something by being alive as he lives in his house by the river, as he has a job, as he has his family. Okay, so you have a lot of people here that have actually co-opted the martial arts from Asia, but they've gutted out the spirituality, they've gutted out the meditation, they've gutted out the internal energy, and they've gone for this bastardized Jeet Kune Do version of the martial arts where you can fuck somebody up and basically in some sort of homoerotic way roll around with another dude on the ground and basically develop a stiffy, whether you choose to tell somebody about it or not, as you basically practice rape techniques. What's wrong with just a simple boxing? A lot of things relate to hand-to-hand contact, and you don't want to go to the ground voluntarily in the streets because there could be multiple opponents and you could get stabbed. You don't want to go to the ground. If you're taken to the ground, you want to get back up and run away as fast as possible. So this modern way of thinking with regards to fighting is really corrupted, and the morality has been removed. So I said years ago, where are the tough guys? They're into both the truth and martial arts. Well, now we have radicalized guys into the right wing and martial arts, the MMA, but they're not really into the truth. So no, they don't actually qualify as truthers. They're not actually being real tough guys and stand against the system. Just traveling to Portland, Oregon because you're an Alex Jones addict, because Alex Jones says these young punks, these Generation X punks in Portland, Oregon are the enemy, right? That doesn't make one, like a charismatic tough guy for going to a city and trying to instigate with mentally ill fucks in Portland, Oregon. That's not what a real man does. That's not a man who thinks for himself. Leading me to my next point. There is nothing manly and masculine about a dude that licks the rear end of another man. It's also very homoerotic, and I'm not a homosexual, so homosexuals can do whatever they want. But homosexual acts to me, because I'm a hetero, will continue to be disgusting to me personally, because my sexuality is not wired that way. Don't want to see it, don't want to hear about it, don't want it described to me. Well, it feels homoerotic for people to think that I should support Trump. It feels homoerotic for people to think that I should support Alex Jones. It feels homoerotic and self-hating for people to think that I should be in line with white nationalist perspectives when I'm fucking missed rakes. It makes no sense for people to hate on me for not getting involved in psychologies and thought forms that are against people like me existing. So a lot of people out there would donate to me and give me money if I was a feminized, slap my ass, private dancer, read the lyrics from Tina Turner, version of a truther, as opposed to a real man who has lived a real hard life, who has suffered serious child abuse, who was put in jail at a young age for doing drugs to heal from child abuse. I have literally walked through the fucking fire. I am a guy's guy. Okay? I do not follow other men. And so a lot of men out there that think that they're real tough guys, whether they can bench a lot or do certain steroids or have a lot of money, they're not independent men that think for themselves. And there's certainly nothing attractive about rural off-grid men or men that want to act like they're tough guys by acting like a billionaire New Yorker with international ties is going to be our Lord and Savior. That is asinine. That is psychotic. So I could go on and on and on. But yeah, when it comes to sexuality and violence, men and women are easily manipulated by those aspects of their lower self. But yet, even though mankind is so attracted to sex and violence, it's overall, in the dark ages, intellectually, spiritually, and otherwise, when it comes to being aware of how the sun affects cycles of war and cycles of sex. On that regard, humanity is stupid, retarded, held back, regressed. They know a little bit about the moon cycles. They know a little bit about astrology. They know a little bit about certain drugs manipulating their testosterone and their hormonal waves and things of that nature that can cause them to want to kill and fuck like there's no tomorrow. But how the sun affects them and how it has affected those that came before us by studying history, not just tree rings and crop failures, but by studying human history and human trends, you could see the period in the past in which there were the most wars, invasions, and genocides. And guess what, Sherlock? It's solar maximum. Yeah, I'm one of the few on this planet that has been teaching people about this, and many men out there have acted like I am fucking inferior because I won't get down and bow to their leader. They don't want a strong man. They don't want real leaders, okay? They're not thinking for themselves. Their thoughts are not their own. And if you have not read my 2005 article, Are Your Thoughts Your Own? It's still over at Rinse. Okay. Back in the day, Alex Jones, Rinse, Claude Lewis. None of these fucks had problems with me saying anything that I wanted about genocide, racism, the new KKK, because Bush was the president then, and they all called Bush a fucking Nazi. Now, you talk about Nazism, you talk about hate. Men that think that they're manly men will think that you're some sort of a fucking snowboy. Well, they're the real fucking snowboys who ain't fucking strong because they're weak. They don't have the strength inside of them to stand up for the weak. They rather trample on the weak and piss on them and pull out their hard cock and jerk off to murder, destruction, and genocide. I told you that these porno websites have snuff films on them and Muslims don't own the websites. That means there's sick fucks in our culture that masturbate to women getting choked to death. And I showed you on Twitter that Elon Musk, allied to the modern white supremacists, allied to the people even supporting the Gazans, allied to both sides, will show you videos of people being murdered and women being choked to death. Okay? The men that are alive today, this is a message to the women of the next generation. They're going to wonder what the fuck happened when they end up in cages, sold as sex slaves to off-world aliens. The men that incarnated out of the womb with me worked every way tooth and nail to work against me and my information, as well as engineers at YouTube and Google that know of me personally and me exposing what they have done with the algorithm to promote flat earth and Nazism in many cases together in the same way that a waitress or a cashier at McDonald's asks you if you would like fries with that. The algorithm for years asked you when you looked at flat earth if you would like Holocaust denial with that. You know it's the truth. I know some of you that made up your mind that you're still going to continue to be flat earthers and watch my channel, but you know you saw, in some cases, pro-Hitler content next to flat earth content. That's not an accident. It's not a coincidence that dark aspects of the church thought the earth was flat 500 years ago. So for those of you that are on that trip that are still not waking up, right? I'll continue to wait. But by expecting me to get behind QAnon, racism, white supremacy, flat earth, hating migrants, sucking Alex Jones's and Donald Trump's penis, fuck you. You don't want a real man to assert himself in his value. Okay? You want a whore to suck your cock. Whether you're an abusive father, whether you're an abusive troll, whether you're a maniac white supremacist, you're not a real man. Do you understand? If you want another man to be submissive to what you demand, to what you desire as an audience member, if you want someone to be at their best, you want them to be at their best, capiche? You want them to eat well, to think well. You want them to believe in themselves. You want them, if they're your favorite news reporter, to report on a regular basis, which you want to hear. If you berate them, if you troll them, if you make fucking shit up and they go away for a couple of years, don't act like you fucking care about that person and you wonder where that person is. Oh, I wonder where that person is. You know exactly why that person took a break from your crazy fucking ass. You want to sit here and act like psychic powers don't exist, that sensitive people don't exist, that it's all schizophrenia, when there are so many ways in which it has been proven to exist. And so we live in a day and age where even if people want to act like psychic powers don't exist, there are evil people out there with the power of the mind. And they sit there day in and day out, all day long on YouTube, without a real job, telling others to get a real job, thinking hateful thoughts at a fucking screen, using the dislike option as a weapon in their mind to stop a channel from progressing, even though the dislikes don't actually stop the video from being seen. Meaning people are addicted online to trying to cause havoc and chaos in people's lives, even if it is simply negative thoughts in their brain. Okay? So real off-grid living, folks, is getting off the internet and staying off the internet. I came back on the grid to make videos on a regular basis without using a generator, without living without a shower, because when you live without a shower, folks, do I really need to explain this to you? I'm not even going to explain this to you if you don't even know where I'm going with this. So we'll just skip that, right? But when you live a hard life without certain things that many of you take for granted, you're not as spiritually strong as you could be. You need a shower, you need a refrigerator for your food, you need nutrition, you need to work out, you need friends, you need community. If you don't have a church or the church won't accept you, you need people in your life that will hear out what you know if you are intelligent and have light to share. So when I felt that people didn't appreciate my light that I shared about the solar flares in 2019 and I was silent for a few years, it was so fucking painful. In fact, I still got that song in my head from Cheap Trick, The Flame. Very, very sad, sad song from the 80s. That really, every time I heard it, I just wanted to just not so much destroy that radio, but absolutely shut it off. You would think that in a crisis, people would come together and be leaders. And a lot of people were not leaders during the COVID event. Even during the lockdowns, people thought they were the resistance. Just because you're questioning the health event doesn't mean you're now some sort of like researcher, brilliant dude because you watched Plandemic, because you don't believe what the mainstream media is telling you. Like, don't you realize that so many people have totally taken the injections also, mentally, the thought forms? If you don't know what the word thought form is, bring it into your vocabulary and learn how to fucking Google something, Sherlock. Mr. Self-described superior intelligence, why don't you fucking act like it? So what we have is a bunch of fucking chronic liars right now on the planet Earth with the guns, with the weapons, controlling AI, acting like they are superior and everything going against the ethno state is a fucking threat, is of George Soros and the New World Order. When the New World Order is white supremacy, it is Adolf Hitler. It is the white world order that will use weaponized immigration to cause a backlash against innocent men, women, and children. So you don't have real men right now with guns in many cases that are prepping. You have scared little boys that don't say shit about the system, but yet they, even though they're bigger than me and they've got families and friends, they think they need a fucking arsenal. They think they need to be fucking Rambo. They already have a fucking pension. They already have this. I'm not anti-gun. I'm saying I'm a dude who doesn't have what they have. I don't have a fucking retirement. I don't have this. I don't have family in the flesh or even in spirit sending me jack shit of a message saying, dude, good job. Keep it up. We'll talk more about women in another video. But if women wanted to see men do good in this world, right? They can withhold that you know what, starts with a P, starts with a V, starts with an S, starts with whatever, starts with a C, starts with whatever the fuck you want to call it. They will withhold that coochie woochie boochie. In a more conscious society, women will hold that coochie woochie boochie. No poontang. Unless the head's consciousness rises, not just the little head rising. The big head's consciousness needs to rise too. Yes, then you get access to the glory hole, per se. Excuse the lingo, right? But no, we've got a bunch of fucking whores and sluts hopping on the cock of murders. Oh, you murdered innocent men, women, and children in Afghanistan? Let me swallow your load. Here, let me swallow all 15. Oh, you murdered innocent men, women, and children? Oh, man, time for a golden shower. Folks, this is a physical, biological form of hell. It isn't the worst form of hell, but it ain't no fucking heaven, okay? Anybody saying that we're on our way to ascension or even waiting for an ascension doesn't even have enough soul voltage to realize the depths of wrongness that is taking place. Anybody giving Alex Jones credit for the fucking pandemic predictions doesn't have the heart to see the evil within Alex Jones and how Alex Jones himself could be fed evil by the system itself to be portrayed as a prophet and a messiah himself, as he credits himself with bringing us Donald Trump. I probably know 5 or 6 people that know Trump. Not to brag, but to say that I've known people higher up in the alternative media over the years. They know me. They know the name Alex Ansary, and they don't think much of me. Yeah, right? In a parallel reality, I would be in the big time. I would be on TV. I would be sharing my information and helping way more people around the world because I would be recognized. My gifts would be recognized. The amount of times that I've called things right would be recognized. Nobody even gives a fucking flying rat's ass that I've warned about World War III and the potential invasion. And now people talk about the invasion in the mainstream media all the fucking time. You think my haters would give me some credit, huh? No, they hate me even more for my light. The more light you admit, the more the evil of this world will come against you. So we have content, consumers, and creators in the conspiracy theory genre. In the conspiracy theory genre, the consumers want the men to follow men and do rim jobs. They think that's manly. They think that's a man that can push 4 plates on the bench. To do the Trump thing and wear the Trump flag, well, that's got the Stallone body, it's not even Trump's body. It's not even Trump's muscles. So here we have the Trump flag. Here we have a man posing into another man's body. It's not even Trump's body. He's not even athletic. He eats McDonald's. Isn't McDonald's globalist? Isn't McDonald's SJW? There's McDonald's, there's Donald Trump. There's Epstein, there's Donald Trump. There's Hillary Clinton, there's Donald Trump. There's Donald Trump saying grabs one by the coochie. There's Donald Trump, okay, 5 trillion in debt. There's Donald Trump saying he supports Operation Warp Speed. Donald Trump was right, and the same goes for Obama, that fuck too. He could shoot a person on New York City, right, in broad daylight, right on camera, CCTV, and he'll still be worshipped like a living god. So he may not be the Antichrist, but he definitely qualifies as a part of the Antichrist mafiosa that is operating the New World Order. So I would call the New World Order and the evil that controls it to be the Antichrist energy, that which the followers of Islam call the Dajjal, okay? So conspiracy content consumers are rarely ever going to be your friend because they like to get off on the conspiracies and the fear and the adrenaline and even the righteous indignation of, oh, that's so evil. Oh, yeah, but it's difficult to actually build friendships with conspiracy people because they're so adrenaline charged with this war taking place that anybody could be the enemy. And it's very much like spy versus spy, like something out of Mad TV. And so it's not like yoga class. It's not like martial arts class. It's not like chess class. It's not like other self-help related circles or AA or NA. When you're dealing with conspiracy people and conspiracy content creators, you are dealing with cutthroat people that in many cases harbor belief systems that people that were born of my genetics are of the most inferior subhuman species, that they unfortunately have to share space with us on the earth. And if they got their way, the ethno-state would reign. And many of them, even though they're critical of the depopulation agenda, salivate for actually one of their own for the Middle East. To have nukes dropped on Gaza, to have nukes dropped on Afghanistan, to have nukes dropped on Iraq. And I've had people threaten me with guns for calling them out on YouTube for them saying that Afghanistan should be nuked. All right, so people want to act like they're victims, but if people want to assert themselves and their value, they will act like they're being a bad man. So what I'm saying is there's actually a feminization going on in the truth movement, where men want men to be followers of other men. And if they don't follow other men, like Trump, Alex Jones, or others, they will act like there's something wrong with them, and they will call them soy boys, which is basically projecting. They're the real soy boys. There's no real soy eating here per se, but they're the real feminized one for allowing another man to mold their reality for them. It's very homoerotic. It's very homosexual, right? We do have some that are homosexual that watch this show and channel. That's fine, but that's not my predisposition. So the idea of like humping onto another man's energy is not something that I'm into. So even though we have a lot of homophobic men on the right, it's very homoerotic to encourage men in almost a gangbang sort to be humping up together in some sort of a top movement, January 6th style, towards just a bunch of sweaty, hairy, stupid zombies just moving around with destruction everywhere like some sort of prison riot, okay? Just because I am male and I was born in today's generation does not mean that I think that the men alive today on either the left or the right, in either Afghanistan, the West, on either my mother's side of the family or my father's side of the family, right? I see all of them, for the most part, as being intellectual, spiritual zombies. If they want to be seen otherwise, they need to show themselves capable of having consciousness. They need to show themselves capable of caring about themselves. I said over and over, white people and black people, for the most part, care about themselves and their own people. You don't see that from fucking Afghanis or Iraqis or anything labeled Arabic or Middle Eastern. Those people, unfortunately, don't want to call them fucks per se, but those people that have suffered in the Middle East, they must have some serious demonic shaitan gen attacks or being fucking alive in those bodies. Because the level of division and hatred in those regions, including East India, is just off the Richter scale. On the topic of Twitter videos, here you see these videos of these dudes in India, doing some sort of blood sacrifice of some animal. They're not really worshiping God. Not when you're sacrificing animals like that, and not when you're sacrificing people. So you have a lot of fucking fake Christians that are in power here in the West and around the world that are sacrificing innocent men, women, and children in Palestine. They don't give a fuck. They think it's fucking something that gives them power. Bad, man. Okay. Now, finally, conspiracy content consumers. They can easily see you as the enemy because of the psychic attacks. So if you are a light being with threatening information, they often do possess unstable men with hate in their hearts that have not come to know the true teachings of Christ. Okay, many glorify the weaponized Jesus who stabs people, who murders people, and a lot of people glorify violence, thinking that those are the teachings of Jesus. This is all hallmarks of people that are possessed directly by the devil, and they are capable of either murder or creating propaganda or slander to cause other people to harm. Okay, all this stuff happened to me. All these things I experienced. I experienced all this trauma by being born in this world and seeing possessed human beings, whether it be aspects of my childhood, okay, aspects of my parents becoming possessed, aspects of the kids at school becoming possessed and trying to knock me out with a single punch in elementary and middle school. And then the same thing happened in high school. And then people like the G-Man coming into my life early on before I even had a chance to develop a career. And at my lowest moment, convincing me, even when I said no, convincing me to shoot heroin in my fucking arm. G-Man came out of fucking nowhere, supposed superior man of Norwegian heritage, not so superior, for derailing my life and robbing me of my fucking Second Amendment. So I keep hearing all my life about the superiority of my haters, of my trolls, of these people in the media, while nobody of my ethnicity is ever featured on Netflix or in the mainstream media. And I'm to believe that's because people like me are inferior, not when I've called so many things fucking accurately, and you know it's the truth. And you know it's the truth. And people have told me many times it's the truth, but they stop short of saying it's fucking bad and sad that you've actually dealt with so much hatred because of the genetics you've inherited, because you're smart and you give a shit about the future of white America, not just the land of your ancestors in Afghanistan, but the land of your ancestors in England, okay, in Austria, and where else my ancestors may be that was never told to me. Okay, conspiracy content creators will often see themselves as the creator, will often become demigods. The internet has allowed so many ways for clickbait to be king. Content is king, but the most entertaining and frightful content is king. So a lot of unspiritual men that don't have a bullshit detector take cues from Alex Jones, take cues from Coast to Coast, take cues from white nationalists that talk about being victims on Twitter and how everything's going in the direction of the black man or immigrants, while they themselves have tens of thousands of followers, where if they post something, they have tens of thousands of views. But they don't see, they're not intelligent enough to see that the algorithm is preferring them. they're actually inferior intellectually. So they call themselves victims, and they cite lots of supposed alternative facts for being victims, often about weaponized immigration, but they don't address how these immigrants are being set up for deportation or camps. They don't give a shit. Everything is narcissism about patriot this and patriot that, and they attack others as being abusive narcissists that will simply assert themselves back to a lot of these men don't like real men. They are the real feminized, right? They can have a big chest. They can have some martial arts abilities. They can have a lot of followers. But if everything is about following a pecking order of basically chickens and shit, and following one man who follows another man who follows another man, that comes across as homosexual. It's kind of like one of those like dances. Da 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 da. Whoa, da da da. Whoa, I don't want to be like that with that dude. And so there's a lot of dudes that want to be like that with that dude, but they're not homosexual. They're heterosexual, but they want to be real close to the ideas and thoughts and even sexual attitudes of a lot of dudes. The whole MGTOW was as nasty as a dirty gangbang with no condoms. All that angry, unsettled, male sexual energy. Life is more, folks, than being angry at women that don't want to fuck you. If you're upset with the fact that we're not in a situation in which we have enough space to have families and the women are brainwashed and the men are brainwashed and there isn't enough places to live, we need to have a conversation about what the fuck we're doing on this earth-bound prison planet. But just simply hating the men and just simply hating the women isn't going to do anything for us. There's a lot of ways in which women are hating the men and programmed to hate the men. In a future podcast, Aaron, who I believe is in the Southwest, he's going to be discussing what he's seen in Portland, Oregon, about the neo-feminism. The neo-feminism in which some modern women view men to be a part of the original sin just because they have male sexual anatomy. Okay, it takes both a man and a woman to create a woman. It takes both a man and a woman, or a male and a female, to create a male. Not that all males and females are men and women. Okay, some of them are still children, even though they have adult bodies. Okay, some humans shouldn't have any children whatsoever. Some humans absolutely should be having children. Okay, in a more evolved world, I would be a father of multiple children. I would be a good husband. I would have a good home. A lot of good things, beautiful things in that home. But God did not look down upon me when I exited the womb and said that you will be loved by the women of this world. God did not look down upon me when I came out of the womb and said, your mother will love you for who you are and the knowledge that you have. God did not look at me when I came out of this womb and say, your father will understand you in his last days and how hard he tried to stand up for his people. I was not blessed in that way. I came into a world in which my mother and my father and my relatives are confused by my rage, confused by my anger, confused by my angst over my childhood, confused by my rage after years and years of researching and discussing things and going on one of the biggest fucking radio shows on planet Earth, Coast to Coast AM, and not even getting an email after that. And people are to tell me that we're ascending. People are to tell me, you type in right now into the Google search bar, cycles of the sun and cycles of war. And you scroll down, boy, you scroll down. I said down. You see me eventually, more than once, okay? So on one sense, this is good news. I'm not shadow banned with regards to some videos. A few years ago, none of that shit would show up. Now that I'm more active again, it's showing up, but I'm demonetized. No money's coming in, except for the occasional donations. And they're very rare right now. Thank you, Patrick, for sending a few last week. There's never any pressure for anyone to donate multiple times when it's the same person. I never recommend that. Haven't said that in a while. Said that many times years ago. I recommend people, if they have the means to donate any amount from the goodness of their heart to support me as I am without expecting me to become a better person to earn that money. To be donating based on the work that I created up until that point in time to the second. Thank you for what you did up until this point. Here's a donation, keep it coming. That's simple, clean energy, positive energy. Not, well, would you stop talking about this? Well, hey, well then I'm going to take off. And then some people will almost try to manipulate with their energy. This happened a lot in the past and it hurts. So a content creator should never become dependent on that money. They should be willing to, and I have, lose everything and live in poverty. That includes relocating and losing something as important as dental insurance. My loss of dental and health insurance was very disturbing to me in recent years. And spending a great deal of my personal pocket income that came from the sale of my land, which came about from harassment, which came about from me standing up for off-griders being kicked off their land. And so money from that land sale, which I sold at a loss, went to my teeth. Do you think I'm happy? People talk about the World Economic Forum being the great boogeyman. Listen, folks, and listen clearly like you've never listened in your life. The World Economic Forum didn't do shit to affect my life off grid. And you know that's the fucking truth. You will own nothing and be happy. It's because of fucking haters that I own nothing. It's because of hateful fucking trolls and haters on the internet that hated me living off grid in fucking freedom. You need to know why I'm suffering. It's because of my information. If I could have just been like another fucking schmuck and another dude lusting after pussy, working and having a home, I could have what a lot of men consider to be their God. But I chose instead to serve God and stand up for the children of God that are being massacred. And I can't control the fact that the women of today's day and age aren't sexually attracted to a dude that's willing to stand in front of a tank. No, they're more into a January 6th dude on the right or a far left dude in the BLM that'll protest and shut down the highway, which is why I say a conscious man should never lust for an unconscious woman. I don't care how hard you want to come. Okay, we need to keep that in check, right? I don't care about the controversy of Julian Epperly, whatever. She says a lot of conscious shit. I don't watch her channel every day. She doesn't watch me. But you can learn a lot from this Vietnamese woman about self-accountability. And a lot of the men and the women in today's day and age, they don't want to be self-accountable. The women that have created children in today's day and age, a lot of them don't want to be accountable for how their child was raised and how they treated their children. It will always be the husband's fault, the fault of the man that put the penis in them, or the fault of their children, or the fault of their parents. For the women of this generation that are at a low soul voltage, they will never try to be self-accountable for how they raised their children and how things turned out. You think Bruce in Oregon, who lives, by the way, I believe in a beautiful part of Oregon, hope he appreciates it, hope he appreciates that money that he inherited from his father. What did I receive? What did I get from my own family? When did they ever come to my aid when I was homeless? I was nothing to them. Okay, so what do we learn from this? This world is not paradise. This world is a form of hell, okay? And many of the people that we bed down with, many of the people in our lives, many of our family members, they don't support our success and evolution beyond the earth plane. Even if they want to talk a big talk about the rapture and ascension, unless they're willing to recognize the workings of Shaitan or the evil of this world, unless they're willing to mature upon a delusional mentality of thinking that Jesus is going to return and save everything, or that the evil aliens and the reptilians and the Dracos have been moved off planet, unless they're willing to put on the big boy pants, unless they're willing to put on the big boy or the big girl pants and be an adult, they're not going to see the evil for what it is. And anybody speaking out against evil, or Lady Gaga barking on all fours like a doggy, trying to sexually excite the men in the audience and teach the women to be slaves, if they don't realize the role that Lady Gaga is there to do, as they go, why are you after Lady Gaga? As one particular relative said to me years ago, this is not a sign of consciousness. So we could end up incarnating into an abusive parental situation where our parents are obsessed with the fact that they have some bug that the archons gave them, that we were born broken and need correction. Serious correction. Oh, you are so fucking broken. I am your master. I'm here to correct you. And both my parents channeled the dark one as far as I'm concerned, and have not repented of their ways and realized what they've done and how it was almost strategic and pushing me from school to school. So folks, I may not have a bunch of money. I may not have 24-inch pythons. I may not have a sports car. I may not have 100,000 subscribers or 1 million subscribers. I may not be popular, but I am a powerful man. I am a child of God. I am an asset to the Creator. I am a protector of women. I am an advisor of women, even women of the ethnicity and culture that is genociding my father's culture, okay? People of this day and age do not give me credit for having love in my heart. They hate me for my life, and it's not going to stop. I think that there is an evil in this world so greatly, it might even take me out if God allows it. But it's not going to stop. But those of you that do appreciate me, that do want to continue to hear my voice, if you think that I can just keep creating content and be hated and live in poverty for the rest of my life until I'm age 90 and enjoy myself while I live in isolation, and you think that that's going to make me happy, think again. I'm a human being. I deserve respect. I deserve a warm bed. I deserve family. I deserve a child. I deserve a wife. I deserve respect from my father. I deserve respect and replies from the letters I've sent to my parents wanting to know about my ancestry. I deserve to be treated like a soul that has value. And there is nothing saying about any form of humanoid that would say that what I am asking for and have asked for since the day I was born, there's nothing saying about those that would say that I am wrong or evil for asserting my own value. Okay? The devil is very active at this time. It is channeling through some of your parents, some of your kids, some of your brothers, some of your sisters. If you are naive to the workings of the devil, if you don't know that Shaitan is taking over humanity, that there is a spirit of evil that is occupying the earth at this time, you're not paying attention, God's not talking to you, and maybe something else is, and you need to check that shit out. And we're not talking about a psychiatrist. Everybody out there that may tell you when you're feeling stressed and you're feeling scared and you're feeling emotional that you need professional help, you tell those people, especially if they don't mean you any good, to go fuck themselves and go back to that hellhole cave that they crawled out of. Nobody, unless you have the big bucks, thousands of dollars, and you're going to go to some sort of recovery retreat like Sandra Bullock in 28 Days. I actually just checked out that movie, along with Ghostbusters and Groundhog Day, and we're living in Groundhog Day. And, that's a subject for a future video. Groundhog Day. How is Groundhog Day a metaphor for our day and age? Like literally reincarnating in this type of a world until like Bill Murray, our actions change. So when Bill Murray changes his actions in Groundhog Day, he's no longer waking up in the same reality, you see. And then we have Ghostbusters, right? They're trying to contain all these ghosts in this system. And then the system gets shut down at the end, and then it's poltergeist time. What's it really going to be when the grid goes down? And all these entities that have been literally humping on the silicone chip, what happens when the grid goes down? Are they just going to evaporate? Or is it literally going to be something out of the end scene of Ghostbusters with just and then of course there's that interesting movie, Pump Up the Volume, in which he anonymously truce his high school class with the ongoing zombie apocalypse that Christian Slater, the actor, perceived in the year 1988. It's pretty cheesy. A lot of the scenes aren't really funny, but it's in the tradition of covertly trying to wake people up to cope with the pain. Okay? And then people supported that. And then the government came in to shut that down. And in the modern day and age, the government, the man, the system, the corporation coming to shut it down is the algorithmic manipulation to where bad men, evil men, abusive men, lying men, men in the alternative media that lie, that engage in clickbait, that make shit up out of their ass, that see this as entertainment, that see you, my friend, as a mark, as nothing but a listener, as nothing but a click, that they need to keep listening, right? Those are the men that are the most popular right now on the web. Meanwhile, in conclusion, the more truthful you are, the more spiritual you are, the more trauma you have had to endure as a result of your spiritual power and your potential on this world, that Shaitan surely noticed when you came out of the womb. We, those of us that are in that box, are some of the most suppressed and shadow banned. Meanwhile, we live in a world where we have people that are actually very popular and very wealthy, like Tim Pool and others, that will talk all day long about how they're being shadow banned while they have millions of viewers. So not only do they lie collectively about being victims, even if they want to act like they're part of the truth movement, okay, until they actually start showing concern and compassion for people that did nothing to them on 9/11, that have been bombed back to the Stone Age, they will continue to be the generation that brought a great genocide to the people of the third world. They can go ahead and say, we're truthers, we're not with them, we're not with them, we're so against New World Order. But as long as you drink of the cup of the blood of the Alex Jones propaganda, of the Donald Trump propaganda, you are still in line then with the ethno-state agenda that they and their shadow government may covertly, in fact, be bringing us.